Test, 1, 2, 3. Amy, can you hear me? Test, 1, 2, 3. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. Guys,
What else have we done?
mics are on.
We've done a lot here. We've done a lot.
You've already outduded me that you're golfing.
Back in the office.
Mics are hot.
I wanted to go over some of
Got
this
it,
stuff.
thank you.
Just
When you're ready,
Just
go right
to-
ahead.
I like to drink outside, but like,
And drive a golf cart?
I am terrible at golf.
Of course I was
Get
good.
it together.
She's good. I can break 100. Which is
Golf, bowling, darts, anything that like
All right.
takes like
Well-
finesse.
Is it coming from your screen or
The
from?
most horrific experience
starts
of my
it-
life I will never forget. I have a bowling ball and bowling shoes.
Because it's coming
Which
from
is like
inside, so
kingpin.
I'm just going to
These people just took it way too seriously.
We're good to go, right?
And my husband
Turn
and I
it
were just
off.
gonna drink beer and have a good time, and it was a bunch of
I'm gonna
tryhards.
mute
We are present in 26 CR 228, State of Ohio versus John Moncrief. We are here for a hearing on the defendant's motion to suppress evidence. Defendant is here in court with counsel Mr. Tim Deeb. State of Ohio is present, represented by Assistant Prosecuting Attorneys Abby Bell and Lauren Tuttle. So before we get started here, I want to get on the record. Was there any offer made in this case?
There was, Your Honor. It would be to count 1 and count 2. Count 1 or count 2 and count 3 both being misdemeanors, so it's not. It's an offer, but
I'm assuming count 3 is more serious OVI.
the refusal, yeah.
Why is there a? It's not a big deal. But you guys included a paragraph for the prior.
Just because we had the information, I thought I'd put it in the indictment.
So it wouldn't be an element though in
Correct.
this particular. So it wouldn't go to the jury.
That's correct.
Okay. So Mr. Deeb, you discussed this offer with your client,
Yes, Your Honor.
and he's rejecting that at this point.
At this point, yes, yes.
Well, I mean, is this offer going to stay if we go forward with this?
No, Your Honor.
You discussed that with your client?
They've offered this, Mr. Lasker, which is you.
Just wanted to give you guys, blocked it out so you could talk.
I knew we had talked about it briefly. He told me he turned it down, but I did not inform him that after today it would no longer be available. So I wanted to make sure he understood that, and we are ready to proceed at this time.
You still want to proceed? Okay. All right. I'll hear from the state of Ohio first. Any opening comments? Ms. Tuttle?
Brief opening, Your Honor.
Okay. Oh, wait, what'd you say?
A brief opening.
Okay.
The evidence will show that on February 7th, 2026, just past 1 a.m., police received a call to respond to the parking lot of the North Shore Mall in Wilwick, Lake County, Ohio, between Aldi and Speedway. There was a report of a car stuck in the snow. When Officer Sopkwich responded, there was a vehicle stuck in the snow-covered grass area between two parking lots. The vehicle was running and the defendant was the sole occupant in the driver's seat. Immediately upon exiting the vehicle, the defendant showed signs of impairment such as slurred speech, glassy eyes, and an odor of alcohol. The defendant was asked to perform standardized field sobriety tests based on the officer's observations of his behavior. During the tests, the defendant was uncooperative and did not give the officer the opportunity to explain instructions. Based on the evidence you'll hear today, the officer had every legal basis to detain and test the defendant and substantially complied with the NHTSA requirements for the standardized field sobriety tests. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Deeb, for the defense?
Your Honor, I would be arguing that the reason for the stop was that he was in the snow area, but he was on a grass location, but at the time, it would be unknown to anybody in that area, if you're not familiar with it, that he would be driving in that. So we'd argue that there was, the reason for the stop was invalid, and then...
But there wasn't a stop, was it? Well, this is your opening, I'm sorry.
Well, his lights were on and they approached the vehicle and there were two officers there with their lights on. I believe that anybody would believe that they were in custody or detained at that point. And that once the officer began the field sobriety test, the conditions and the manner in which the tests were given did not comply with the NHTSA standards, and therefore there would have been no probable cause after the tests were completed for the officer to have probable cause to arrest him and to search his vehicle.
Okay, thank you.
Well, the search of the vehicle stems from the arrest.
And then
Not that I'm contesting the manner in which they searched the vehicle, it's just they should not have even started the search because he should not have been placed under arrest.
The only reason they searched is because of the arrest and they had to tow the car.
Correct. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, statement calls first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state will call Patrolman Steve Sopkwich.
Abby, I can stipulate those qualifications if you want. I've known him for a long time, as you saw when I greeted him.
Please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Let's see.
Okay.
Spell whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you please state your full name and spell your last name for the record?
Patrolman Stephen Sopkwich, Sobkowich.
And Your Honor, just for the record, Mr. Deeb just informed me he would stipulate to the officer's qualifications.
Is that correct, Mr. Deeb?
Yes, it is.
All right, and you accept that, I'm assuming?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, very well, then you may go on.
So, have you had any training when it comes to OVI stops and standardized field sobriety tests?
I have.
And what is that training that you received?
In the academy, the Cleveland Heights Police Academy in 2010, I received the ADAP training and OVI standardized field sobriety test course.
What was that? Was that an acronym you said?
ADAP, alcohol detection, and sorry,
That's all right.
it was 15 years ago.
And have you had continuing education when it
Correct.
comes to standardized field sobriety tests? And how many times have you performed those tests?
Not sure the exact number, but quite a few in 15 years.
Over 50?
Yes,
Over 100?
probably.
Less than 1,000?
I'd say so.
So somewhere in the hundreds. Were you turning your attention to February 7th, 2020? Oh, 1 second, Your Honor. Turning your attention to February 7th, 2026, were you on duty that day?
I was.
Do you remember what shift you were working?
It was the night shift from 6 p.m. on the 6th to 6 a.m. on the 7th.
And do you remember what day of the week that was?
It was Friday night going into Saturday morning.
And what was your role on shift that day?
Patrol officer.
What was the weather like?
It was very cold. It had snowed during the day, during the night. There were plow trucks out for the streets and parking lots.
What were you driving that day?
A marked Willow Police Department Chevy Tahoe with number 833 on it.
Okay. And is it equipped with rotating and oscillating lights?
It is.
And were you wearing a uniform similar to what you have on today?
Similar, just with long sleeves and a sweater underneath because it was very cold.
And at some point during your shift, did you respond to the area of the North Shore Mall?
I did.
How did that come to be?
We were dispatched because one of the plow drivers who was shoveling the North Shore parking lot called that a vehicle that had been going through the parking lot was now stuck in the snow between North Shore, Aldi, where Aldi's is located, and the Speedway gas station on the corner of Vine and Lake Shore.
So there's an Aldi in that plaza. Is there also a party center?
There is. On the west end of the parking lot,
And is Aldi on the east end?
yes.
And what did you observe when you arrived to the scene?
As I pulled up, I noticed when we went past the Aldi supermarket that there's a small SUV stuck between the two parking lots. There's a grassy area there with a dip that goes down, and because it had snowed quite a bit the days prior, it was stuck in 1 to 2 feet of snow.
And had that Aldi parking lot been plowed?
Yes,
And were there mounds of snow?
there was at all the edges of the parking lot.
All right. And you observed that, was that car running?
It was.
Were the reverse? And was the defendant in the driver's seat when you arrived?
He was.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 1.
Move closer.
Do you recognize this?
I do.
Oh, sorry.
You're gonna hear,
Why isn't it going up there?
you're gonna hear facts. You're gonna hear that. So please just get the facts. We know this. That's what we want to say.
Do you recognize this?
I do.
What is it?
This is an overhead look at parking lot and Speedway, the intersection of Lake Shore and Vine Street.
And does it fairly and accurately depict that area?
It does.
Did you show me where, I think that's Lake Shore's on the left there?
Yes, the 5-lane road to the
the right
right
on the
corner
Vine
is Lake
Street there.
Shore. The one that go at the very top going kind of parallel is Vine Street.
And north is to the left?
Yes.
The lake's over there?
Yes.
And was it the Google image?
Yes.
What'd you say?
I asked if it was the Google image. She sent it to me. I don't have any objection to it.
I know, I'm just trying to get my bearings.
That's at the very top of the image. That road is labeled 640. Is that Vine Street?
That's fine. That's correct.
That's Lake Shore?
That's Lake Shore.
And it seems like that Speedway is labeled and the Aldi is labeled.
Yes.
So can
Where's
you,
Aldi?
Aldi's the
Where you the pointer stand?
the last building in the plaza.
Oh, in there, okay. I see.
This is the Aldi, it used to be in the former Key Bank. This is Speedway. This is Vine Street. This is Lake Shore. So the lake would be kind of this area.
Where's Shoregate?
Is
That
farther
down-
west.
Down here, okay.
This is North Shore. It's on the east side.
Okay.
and Shoregate Towers are right across
Yeah,
Lake Shore.
Shoregate Towers is right here.
All right, we got it.
And is the party center included in this map, or that's outside
It
of
is
the
not.
scope?
It would be if the map was a little bit bigger. That
Alright.
there's Dollar Tree, Savers Thrift Store, and then the party center.
And you mentioned how the mounded snow. Where were those snow mounds?
Yeah, all along the edge of the parking lot here, there was raised mounds of the snow taken from the parking lot pushed over. And then there's the grass, the Speedway and North Shore parking lot.
And can you indicate where you located the defendant's vehicle?
It was somewhere in this area where there's kind of a dip, and I want to say it's maybe 25 feet or so between the two parking lots.
And what happened when you arrived at the scene?
How did you get to the, all right, go ahead, continue, maybe you'll answer this. Go ahead.
I pulled in through the parking lot. There's some deep tracks from the tires going through the snow, so I kind of followed those to the vehicle. As I approached, my partner officer, Patrolman Stutzman, she kind of slipped and fell in the snow, so she was buried somewhere around here. I continued walking towards the vehicle. As I got out to the rear quarter panel, within about it, the driver of the vehicle hopped out and began speaking with me.
So you went into the Aldi's parking lot?
Yeah, I left the Will Police Station, which was somewhere over
Right.
here, entered through the parking lot, came in here, parked my vehicle kind of at the end of the tire marks going into the grassy area.
Now you had said that whole edge of the parking lot was a big mound.
Yes,
So the car went, how did the car go through the mound? Or over the mound?
mine did not. His, I'm guessing, took a little bit extra work and some speed
Okay.
to get through the mound.
It came from the Aldi's parking lot, not the Speedway?
No, it came from the North Shore parking lot this way, trying to get to the Speedway.
The report you received was that the car was driving around that parking lot?
Yeah, it was going around the bigger North Shore parking lot and was trying to get across over to Speedway.
Okay.
And how many tire tracks did you see in the snow?
2.
Indicating
The-
one vehicle.
The left side and right side of the vehicle.
And were there footsteps leading to and from the vehicle?
No,
So you mentioned that the defendant got out of his car as you were approaching.
that's correct.
What did you notice about him at that point?
As soon as he exited, began speaking to me about why he was there, I was immediately hit with a strong smell of cologne and a sweet alcoholic beverage.
So you smelled both cologne and a sweet
Yes.
alcoholic beverage?
Usually cologne's used to mask.
Objection.
Sustained.
What else did you
I
observe?
noticed those two. As he was speaking to me, I could detect he was slurring his speech. He was giving me signs of impairment.
Right. And you were you wearing a body-worn camera
I
that
was.
day? Did it capture your interaction with the defendant?
It did.
And it was working properly that day?
Yes.
Would you recognize that footage if I showed it to you here in court?
I would.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 2. Do you recognize this footage?
It's blurry right now, but this is the inside of my marked Will Police Department Cruiser 833.
Okay. And have you reviewed this footage prior to today?
I have.
And does it fairly and accurately represent your interaction with the defendant?
It does.
Right. Your Honor, I'd ask for permission to admit and publish.
Your objection?
No, Your Honor.
2 will be admitted.
All right.
See kind of mound here. Tire track going towards Speedway. vehicle with the white reverse lights on.
It's gonna be Series 2, Adam 8, John X-ray. Good job. Hi there. What's going on?
So about how far away from the defendant are you standing at this point?
I want to say maybe like 5-6 feet away.
And were you able to smell the odor of alcoholic beverage?
I have an idea right here. See it?
Did you notice anything about the defendant's speech?
It was very slurred, very hard to understand what he was saying.
You just did? Nice. How much we had to drink tonight? It was just like,
And you asked the defendant how much he had to drink?
He said a couple.
Can you just play it?
Yeah.
no?
No, but came over here.
It was a credit card,
Okay.
driver's license.
Very well. Here, the driver, Tom Frank, 625-278.
Yeah, I tried to reverse. I tried to get those. I called my sister.
Now, how many drinks is a few? Two?
My cousin, and I pulled him out there.
Gotcha.
I apologize, I misspoke. It was a few, not a couple.
Hang on. Just don't wait for questions.
Away for them. So they were stuck, and then I pulled them home, put them in. I got stuck.
Gotcha.
No, I think because I was thinking this is all-wheel drive. So I thought we were going to move
Let's see something real quick. Come here, Gretchen, can I get you anything? No.
While you were interacting with the defendant, you asked him for his driver's license.
That's correct.
What did he present to you at first?
Initially, he presented me with 2 green credit or debit cards, and then was able to give me his driver's license.
Okay. And where did he mention he was coming from?
I think he mentioned the party center.
So he's coming from a
Yes.
party?
Put both hands underneath your chin for me. All right, don't move your head at all, one nice and stiff, okay? You able to see my finger okay? All right, just follow my finger with your eyes. Okay, just follow my finger.
I've been following this issue.
All right.
But I've been following
Don't have any good footing right here.
I pushed my cousin out and then all that other stuff. Cause
I got
I
you.
thought I was supposed to do it. Wheel drive, but it's not.
Well, usually people will stop at the giant amounts of snow. You know that parking lot, not parking lot, parking lot.
Yeah, parking lot. That's why I was thinking I was doing. It's an all-wheel drive car.
All right, well, let's go over there real quick so I can check your feet and your feet.
Why we got to go all the way over there?
I mean, if you want to do it here in the middle of the snow pile, we can, but
Oh, man, that's all I did is kind of help my cousin. No, because I pushed my cousin.
here you go, sit there. Okay. Next one. Put your feet together for me. We're nice and stable here. Do you have any issues with your knees, with your back? Okay. No?
No.
All right. Either one, whichever one you choose.
Okay.
You're going to raise one foot up off the ground, point your toe towards me. You're going to look down at your toe, and you count going 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, until you get to 31,000, where I tell you to stop.
It's cold as fuck out.
I know. I don't want to be out here longer than I have to be. Hands on your side for me. Oh, so hands on your side. 1 foot up. Count them up. Okay.
But it's cold out.
I get it, it's cold.
So, man, that's just extra.
Are you gonna listen and do what he says?
No, I heard what he said, but
So 1
it's
foot
cold out here.
I know it's cold.
We're cold too. It is what it is. You decided
But-
Hands at your side.
No, it's
I
you don't
got
listen
foot.
enough.
no, I
Like,
heard.
come on.
No.
He's giving you an
I
opportunity.
know it's cold. I know.
And I did not do it for purpose. I pushed my cousin out, and then I went over there. So,
All right, so hands at your sides.
okay.
1 foot up. Looking at your toe. 1,000, 2,000.
1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, 11,000, 12,000, 13,000. It's cold. I just did it to the city. I just want my brother. Okay, but I know I heard that, but it's so cold. I'm gonna go past 10 because it's cold as shit out here.
I get that. I get
Come
that.
on, respect the temperature.
Oh, you got this nice line right here. You see it?
Yes.
You see it? Okay.
But I pushed my cousin out.
I get you. Okay.
You feel me? It wasn't even me that drove the car over there.
Well, who drove it over there?
My little sister.
Well, where's she at?
She left with my cousin.
There's no other footprints over there.
Yes. Because I have license and I have insurance.
There's no other footprints right there.
Yes.
You were the only one in the
Because
car.
I tried to bag it up and then I tried to go over the hill though. So I tried to go up and then come back and then go up and come back. So you have to try to work your way through the snow. You have to try to work your way through the snow because it's snow.
Okay. So you got this nice line right here. You're going to put 1 foot on it, your left foot, you're going to put your right foot right in front of it.
It's cold and
I get it. I get it. So you're going to start right here. 1 foot from the other. Hands out at your sides. 1 foot from the other.
You have to go through all this
Yeah.
just to give me help me.
I get you. 1 foot in front of the other. Just like that.
Just to help me.
Yeah.
Yo, that's what we have to go through.
Yep.
Yeah,
One foot from the other.
it's okay.
Hands on your pockets.
What are you doing?
Hands on your sides.
But it's cold.
I know. Hands on your sides.
How can you
I'm
do
cold
it?
too. Are you doing it? Not doing it?
Can you do it?
I
Yep,
can't.
I'm-
I'm like this.
Right here.
Okay.
One in front of the other. Stop, 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 stop.
But it's so cold.
I know. One foot in front of the other, just like this. Let me give you the...
I'll do it. Well, I think y'all is supposed to be helping me
We are.
because public service.
Alright,
But
let me
would
get my
do it.
directions for you.
I would do it. I would do it.
One in front of the
You
other.
ready?
Just like this.
You ready?
Yep. One in front of the other.
Yes, sir.
Just like mine.
But I'm just saying, it's so cold.
I get it.
First y'all did is treat me like I was a criminal. And now treat me like I need help.
Okay.
That's
Let's do
the
this.
difference.
And then we'll get out of the way.
That's the difference. I did everything you asked me to do.
We still got one more. So we gotta do this one. So, right here. One in front of the other.
Okay.
Just like this.
Okay.
One in front of the other.
Okay.
Alright, perfect. Stay right there. Stay right there.
I just showed y'all I can do it. Why y'all won't help me instead of...
I have to show you how to do it first, and then you do it, and then we're on our way. So, just like this.
Because it's just like y'all not helping me. And
One in front of the other.
Y'all doing is treat me like a criminal. And I'm
Right here.
my license is valid. My insurance is...
You need to stay in this position.
No, y'all didn't even check my license, and then y'all did not help me. Y'all did not help me.
Alright, one more
Are you
time.
gonna listen or not?
No, it's...
One in front of the other.
Man,
Just like this.
y'all is not helping me. Y'all supposed
Right
to
here.
help me, public service. No. Public service. Please help me. Help me.
We're trying to help
Right
you,
here.
but you're not listening.
No, but y'all trying to take me through a test instead of helping me get out the
Well, you can't drink and
snow.
drive.
Man, what am I doing?
You've been drinking.
Y'all never help me.
Sure it was.
All right. So when you were standing back at the car, why did you make the decision to begin field sobriety tests?
Because just approaching it, seeing where it was parked, seeing how it was dispatched, I automatically assumed it was either someone joyriding, some kids, or someone that had been drinking too much and didn't want to go to the street, wanted to plow through one parking lot to the other. That a normal sober person at 1 o'clock in the morning is going to pull out of the nicely plowed parking lot onto the nicely plowed street, make the quick right turn and go into the gas station, whereas someone that's had too much, consumed too much alcohol is going to do less than normal things.
And you smelled the odor of alcohol?
Correct.
In the defense, you noticed slurred speech.
That's correct.
So you started with the horizontal gaze nystagmus test.
I did.
What are the three parts of those tests?
The equal tracking in both eyes, the nystagmus at max deviation, and nystagmus prior to 45 degrees, where I'll start off in the middle of the face and by their nose, slowly at 4-second pace, go out to their shoulder to get their pupil to slowly follow my finger just that far. And if any of those, their pupil involuntarily twitches, it shows the nystagmus that their eyes aren't tracking, aren't following, aren't moving smoothly as they would if you were sober with had no substance inside you.
And what did you use as a stimulus?
It was freezing that night. It was either in the negatives or single digits. I had some black gloves on, but I hold my flashlight up above my left shoulder, illuminating my finger, but I point the brightest part of the flashlight, the beam, kind of in their waistband, belly button area, so that it's not directly in their eyes, just so that they can see my finger and follow it as I'm doing the test.
So the light wouldn't have affected his
No.
eyes? And that would have been enough?
Yeah, if you see in the video, the brightest portion of the flashlight beam is kind of around his waistband, belly button area.
And what did you notice as you were observing those tests?
As soon as I was getting a good look at his eyes, I could see they were watery, they were glassy, which
Say it
signs
more
that,
time. You saw his eyes what?
they were watery and glassy. There was signs that someone had consumed some alcoholic beverages.
Could the weather have contributed to that?
Possibly. As I said, it was very, very cold. That could add to it. But with how he was behaving, how he was acting, how he was carrying on, where he was parking his car, it was giving me every sign that he wasn't in his right state of mind, that he had consumed some sort of alcoholic beverage or intoxicant.
And what did you observe during the test?
During the test, while I was doing the equal tracking and the HGN test, I noticed that his pupils would follow my finger a little bit, but then would snap back to the middle. They would look past my finger. All these are signs that someone was trying to deceive the test. Because if you're
You can continue.
focusing solely on my finger, your pupil will follow it and either spasm or not spasm. The test will work. Online, there's numerous videos showing people how to beat the test and where they'll look past the finger, they won't follow
Objection.
properly.
Overall,
Referencing the online, and to say that my client would know that.
you stipulated to his qualifications, and he's talking about his training and experience. Training includes watching these videos, and he's talking about. He didn't say your client was doing that. He said, based on his training, it appeared that that's what he was doing.
He knows that that's out there.
Overall,
Thank you, Your Honor.
That people will do this to defeat the test. So I was doing it, you can see at certain points where I'm kind of waving my finger to get his pupil to respond back to where my finger was. As I did that, I could see when it was following it that there was some involuntary twitching from his pupil,
Okay.
showing that there was nystagmus and to proceed to the next test.
Okay. Then what did you observe during the next test?
The next one, we went to the one leg stand where I put him
Well,
in.
let me pause you. So you moved from next to the vehicle?
I initially try and give everyone the benefit of the doubt that if his eyes were perfect, maybe he got spilled on or anything like that, we would have just proceeded and maybe winched his vehicle out from the snow. That maybe he was confused and just drove that way. But with everything going on, how it was parked, the time of day, how he was behaving, how his eyes looked, what he smelled like, I believed he was under the influence and wanted to proceed with the OVI, standardized field sobriety test. So, because his eyes show me that he more than likely had been drinking, I wanted to proceed to the next test, but we were in knee-high, shin-high snow with just the tracks from his vehicle to stand in. So I wanted him to move from where the vehicle was buried to the parking lot where it had been freshly plowed.
Okay. And there was still some snow in that parking lot, correct?
There was a little bit because the plows can't scoop up everything.
And in the video, we saw in the background there was an overhang of the building.
There was.
Why didn't you do the test there?
And it was kind of a longer walk. I wanted to have him closer to my vehicle where my backup officers were, and with the totality of everything, where he was, the smells, the odors, the situation, I was kind of automatically believing that he was under the influence and would probably be in custody for OVI. So I wanted him closer to the vehicle, so if we had to take him into custody, if there was going to be a fight, that we would have our vehicles there closer to us.
And is that the same reason you didn't take him to the plowed and salted main road?
Correct. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, 5-lane road like Lake Shore can be dangerous and people may not see us.
Is it fair to say that he was interrupting you during your recitation of the instructions?
Very much so.
I'm going to show you, or one moment. All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 3. Do you recognize this document?
This is the Willow Police Alcohol Influence Report form that we have in our jail by the Intoxilizer breath machine.
And is this the original or a copy?
I believe this may be a copy. I'm not-
Where are the originals kept?
They're kept in the report form, so I don't know if you got this from the report
Okay.
or Melissa, our clerk, sent a copy of it to
And
you.
did you create this
I did.
close in time to your observation of the defendant?
Usually I do this while they're sitting at the booking counter, while they're in between giving the breath sample, getting their fingerprints. On one side of it that's not shown here is Miranda warning with the interview questions. They can opt to answer questions and speak to me or not. This is the side that I fill out where it just goes over the testing phase. What I noticed, where I acknowledged the bloodshot, watery eyes, the dilated pupils, the strong odor of alcohol, the testing that he was disarranged, or what he looked like, his condition, the attitude that he was kind of insulting, belligerent, uncooperative at the time, where in booking he became more vocal than...
Objection. Relating to booking?
Why?
Because if we're going through probable cause for the arrest, at that point, anything that happened at booking would not be used for the basis of the arrest.
No, sustain that. Let's just focus on, I mean, they come out your observations, but
Okay.
let's
So-
move, that's next question, please.
For the horizontal gaze nystagmus test, what did you indicate that you observed?
For the performance for the horizontal nystagmus test, I noted that in the left and right eye, there was no smooth pursuit, where the pupil should move like a marble on glass, smoothly to the left and right. His was very jerky to the left, back to the middle, to the right, not following my finger as I had asked him to. On the nystagmus at maximum deviation, where I stretched my hand out all the way to get his pupil to go from the middle of his face all the way to the very corner. When he did that and followed my stimulant, my finger, I detected nystagmus where the pupil at the very corner was twitching, and then nystagmus onset prior to 45 degrees, where I start off in the middle of his face, moving at a 4-second pace out to his shoulder, and I could notice the pupil again twitching involuntarily as it followed my finger out that way.
So you observed 6 out of 6 clues?
I did.
And then what did you observe during the one-legged stand?
On the one-legged stand, the next section, I start off with him in both feet together, trying to explain the test with his hands up down at his sides. As you watch in the video, he wasn't very cooperative, wanted to start the test off before I asked him to. So I noted on here that he didn't follow instructions, he didn't complete the test, he used his arms, putting his hands in his pockets to give him better balance. He started early before I asked him to begin the test, and after I believe it was 16 seconds, or the count of 61,000, he stopped, put his foot down, and refused to continue the test, even with myself, Patrolman Stutzman, and I believe Sergeant Heibecker was there at the time, encouraging him to continue.
In your body worn camera didn't capture this, but were you demonstrating the test as well?
Yeah, as I'm explaining the test to him, I'm physically demonstrating it for him, first with my feet together, one foot elevated off the ground with my toe pointed out towards him, looking down at it as I'm walking through it. With the walk and turn, we had some issues getting through the instruction phase, but I'm usually, as I'm continuously telling him to stand with both feet together like I am, I'm standing with my left foot in front of my right foot in line, touching heel to toe, hands down at my sides as I'm trying to explain to him the test and what I would like him to do.
And on this form, did you indicate that the walk and turn test was refused?
I did. At the bottom here, just that it was refused, that none of the 8 clues were observed because he wouldn't perform the test at all.
And how many clues did you observe during the one-leg stand?
One leg, I noted that he didn't follow the instructions, he did put his foot down, he didn't complete the test, he did use his arms, putting his hands in his pockets, and he started the test early.
So after the defendant performed the standardized field sobriety test, well, performed 2 of them, you made the decision to place him under arrest.
Yes, with the totality of where his car was stuck, the odors I detected, how he was behaving, how he was speaking, how he was behaving as I was trying to give him instructions for the test, all signs, all training told me that he was under the influence, that it wasn't safe for him to be operating his vehicle, obviously as it was parked where there was no road, that that it wasn't safe, he wasn't making the right judgment, that he, instead of driving on a plowed parking lot and roadway, he decided to go off-roading, that he was under the influence, and it would be proper for me to take him into custody for operating a vehicle under the influence.
And whose cruiser was he put into?
He was put into mine, the marked Willow PD Unit 833.
Okay, and he was taken back to the Willowick Police Department.
He was?
Was he asked to perform a chemical test?
He was?
Was he read the BMV 2255 form?
He was?
And did he submit to any type of chemical test?
Objection. This is back at the station, arguing about the arrest.
Sustained, it's irrelevant for purposes of this.
And because the defendant was arrested, did the Willow Police Department do an inventory search of that vehicle?
We do, anytime someone's arrested for operating a vehicle under the influence, or to order a tow, we do not touch the vehicle until the tow is ordered, where it's a tow subject to, or inventory subject to tow. As we did this, a extended magazine was located, then a loaded firearm without a round in the chamber was located under the driver's seat, and a cup with a brown liquid was located inside the vehicle.
Objection. Again, everything after the arrest is valid, this never takes place, but it's not part of his determination.
Sustained. I mean, it's not relevant for this purpose.
One moment. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 4.
I mean, you're not challenging the search, right? In the sense that
When they went into the car,
search,
based on
I
a
mean,
valid...
the search wouldn't have happened, you don't believe it should have happened because it wasn't a proper arrest. If it's a proper arrest, then they're allowed to search. You agree with that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so then,
And I know this is a 400-page document, but do you recognize this?
Yes. This is the NHTSA SFST participant manual.
Okay. And what is this manual?
This is the guidelines for the standardized field sobriety tests.
Okay. And have you, this is the most recent one from 2023, have you reviewed this manual?
I did.
Okay. One moment. And you were trained to perform the field sobriety test based on this manual?
Yes.
And given the
One
circumstances...
from 2010, but yes.
And given the circumstances, you did that to the best of your ability?
I did.
Nothing further.
cross-examination.
Thank you.
Do you want the video?
I'm not exactly sure. I'd like to play the video at some point, but I also have the dash cam.
Okay.
I wanted to, that's going to mark it as state defense exhibit A.
We can pass you the thing if you want to use your computer to do any of it. But we just
Your
mentioned
Honor,
that.
just a brief moment. I'm not savvy with this, and I just wanted to play the dash cam video.
Do we need a brief break here?
Can we have a brief moment?
That's fine.
stable here? If you have any issues with your knees, with your back? Okay.
Here we go.
No.
All right. Either one, whichever one you choose.
All right, y'all set, Mr. Deeb?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you for the brief moment, I appreciate it.
No problem.
Officer, good morning.
Good morning.
So, one of the things you said about the location that day was that it had been snowing for a long time.
Yes,
And this was a pretty bad storm during that period of time where was it double digits in inches in snow?
I believe so.
And the temperatures were at or near zero, correct?
Yes.
At that moment, do you know what the actual temperature was?
Off the top of my head, no. I'm guessing it was somewhere around 0, -2, 2 degrees.
Did you have a face covering?
What? I did not.
But you were wearing gloves?
Yes.
Was it uncomfortable?
Yeah, it was very cold.
And looking at State's Exhibit 1. Stan? Oh, Judge, can I publish?
Yeah, what's it
Exhibit
coming
1?
from now?
It's coming from my computer.
She's not used
This is just a photo. No.
Yeah, but he's connected to the prosecutor's
to
table.
it. That's what.
I think, yeah, you told me defense, all right, but,
Oh,
You're fine, you're good.
good. You recall testifying about this?
Yes.
state- okay. It's a fair and accurate depiction from Google Maps of the area. We can
Yes.
agree on that, right?
Yes, without the snow.
Now that you've watched your dash cam video, has it brought a more clear picture of where his vehicle was in relation to the Speedway parking lot?
As I said, it was about this area right here, the grass in between the North Shore and Speedway.
Could you tell from the location of the vehicle in the snow, had it reached the cement portion of Speedway?
It did not.
Were you certain of that?
Yes.
How could you be certain of
There's
that?
actually a dip right here in the grass where I think that's what caused the vehicle to get stuck.
You don't think it was a foot and a half of snow?
Yeah, the snow definitely had something to do with it.
Now, you had mentioned also that the area was plowed and that there were edges to the parking lot where the snow had been plowed.
Yep, you can see right here the maybe 3-foot kind of mound of snow that the plows have generated.
I'm going to back this up, and I'm going to play State's Exhibit 2 with the court's permission. It's already been admitted. This is your body-worn camera, do you recall?
Yes.
Now, why did you park in that location?
Because I could see the tire marks from his vehicle.
Okay, and it looks like, as you came over, you can see that there's a big mound on the left that appears you're describing, correct?
Yes.
Yet, right here, there's a dip where...
Right here, what do you mean right here?
Right in front of you, where what we can see on the video here is, appears that it's much lower, correct?
At the time, yes. A vehicle driving over it will do that.
Well, we can see the untouched version, portion directly in front of you in the center of the footage here. Doesn't that appear as though there's a mound on the left and it's descending to be much lower?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry if that's a little blurry. I'm trying to stop right there. Now, looking at this video, where is this dip that you are mentioning?
It's going to be somewhere in this area.
Because it appears fairly flat from this body-worn footage, correct?
Not really. You can see there's a large amount of snow there and a
Yep.
vehicle stuck in it. So
Well, yeah, I can see that, but you say there's a ditch or a dip in there?
I believe so. It's tough to see it, but where it goes from the elevation from the North Shore parking lot up into Speedway.
Okay. And now, going back to Exhibit 1.
So the dip that you're claiming, it goes
It's
vertically
for
versus,
drainage
it's not going
this
across
way.
him, it's like a lump, it's like right now it would be next to him.
Yeah.
So, okay, with what you were, for the record, you were just going diagonally across his tracks and saying the ditch or dip that you're describing runs to the left of that light pole and kind of straight towards...
It looks like he must have gotten past it because I'm guessing the dip is maybe around here.
So it doesn't appear as though he was in the dip at this point?
No.
correct? And from the tracks you could see, it doesn't appear that he had any difficulty going through that dip, correct?
I guess not.
I mean, you would see maybe going back and forth or parts where the tires would
I
have
wasn't
spinning.
there when he entered the area. I don't know how fast he was going. I don't know how much force he had behind his vehicle that he could plow through it, but obviously it wasn't enough to get him to the Speedway parking lot.
Okay. Now, again, looking at this still footage of your body-worn camera, I'm going to show you Exhibit 1, so we can go to see exactly if you can help pinpoint where he was when he was stopped.
Must have been closer to this area. I can't quite see where that
I'm
light
going to
pole
attempt to
is.
zoom in on the exhibit. Does that help? I just zoomed in
Yeah,
to
I'm not sure if this is the
244%.
light pole or where that light pole is, but it was probably somewhere around this area.
Okay. Still in the grass.
Yes. The parking lot, road, grass.
Now, Your Honor, I have Defense Exhibit A, flash drive that's been marked, and we would ask the court to be allowed to publish this, and is the dash cam footage from the officer's vehicle that evening.
Any objection to that?
No objection.
Okay.
Do you recall this portion of the video? Did you review this video also prior to coming in?
We did not. This is me leaving the station.
Did you ever review this dash cam footage from that evening?
I don't believe so.
Does this look familiar to the
Yes.
dash cam footage that you would
Yes.
have in a typical case?
Yes.
So you're heading there because you guys, dispatch received the call from the tow truck driver, right?
Yes.
A plow driver, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
That's his vehicle that we see there?
That's
straight
correct.
ahead? Stopping right there at 43 seconds in, Based on what you see right now, can you identify this video?
Yes?
What do you believe it to be?
You mean my dash cam, or what do I see right now?
No. Do you identify this vehicle as, this video as being your dash cam video?
Yes.
Now, where I have it stopped, right there, it doesn't appear that there is a mound or anything stopping anyone from going through that area, correct?
Correct.
And it appears as though people have driven through that area, correct?
Correct.
And in the bottom corner of this, we see that mark
Left
on the
corner,
left.
bottom left.
Bottom left, I apologize, thank you, Your Honor. On the bottom left, is that where he entered?
Right here?
Yes, you're pointing
Yes.
to the bottom left of this video that's
Yes.
been paused at section 40. It's 43 as far as the media player goes from the discovery that we received. That's where his vehicle entered?
Yes.
Okay. And we can say that there's no mound or boundary as far as we can see right here, correct?
Well, you can see that, yes, over in this area, there's less of one. Over here, it's a little bit more raised, but you can see how deep his tire tracks are.
And that appears to be, how would you say, maybe one car length to the right of where he entered?
What's your question?
Around.
Pardon me?
What's your question?
Where
Where he went in
where-
is one car length from where?
From where those other
Oh.
vehicle tracks are, correct?
Yes.
In your training experience, would it be unusual for someone to believe that there was a throughfare or a passage through there based on seeing other people's tracks in the snow?
Well, if you see one parking lot that is freshly plowed, it's clear that it's a parking lot. A road that's clearly plowed that you see as a road,
Well,
I wouldn't assume that an untouched, snow-covered area is a cut-through.
you wouldn't assume, but it would be something that people could consider or possibly.
Maybe if I'd been drinking all night, I might assume that, but
And right here, as we pause right here, that's his vehicle directly ahead, correct?
that's correct.
This was paused at 46 seconds. So with that portion, it doesn't appear as though he went through a very high area. It did have more snow than the area where we saw the vehicle tracks before, but it's not as high as the edge as we could see when you pulled in, correct?
Correct.
So this area is not obstructed by snow, but there is a slight increase in snow, correct?
Well, it's obstructed enough. There's, was it a foot and a half or so, enough to bog down a vehicle. I didn't want to drive mine into it. You can see on the same left corner how high the mound is right there.
Oh, yes, but he didn't drive through there, because that's almost to the top of your vehicle, top of your hood, correct? And you're driving an SUV?
Yes.
Now, moving ahead in this video, watching it 2 minutes and 13 seconds and moving forward, as it's outlined in the Windows Media Player, he doesn't appear to have any issues standing, moving around, correct?
You can see him swaying back and forth. You can see him kind of leaning against the door right there.
Well, I see the officer swaying also. I mean, isn't it typical for someone in a cold situation to not want to stand still?
I'm not swaying.
Moving forward to him walking towards your vehicle. At approximately 6:26 as the media player outlines the time, he doesn't have any problems discussing and talking to you guys while he's walking through the snow, does he not?
Is there any problems doing
He
what?
doesn't have any problems walking or moving through the snow, correct?
Well, we're moving very slow because the snow is so deep, yes.
Well, we see the officer, she has a misstep, but his balance or his movements don't seem to be altered or impaired based on the conditions at that point, correct?
I think she got caught on the snow mound.
Was there anything about his walking to the vehicle that you think shows any indicia of impairment?
We had to move very slow, so,
Well, there's a lot of snow there, right?
yes,
So you would naturally move slowly through there,
yes,
and you did that, and you appear to not have any indicia of impairment while you're walking through that snow, right?
correct.
Watching him, he was able to deal with the amount of snow and didn't have any other issues or any indicia of impairment as he was moving through that snow either, correct?
At the pace we were going, and he did stop in the middle to, I don't know if that was to gather himself or talk about his day, but correct. He was able to move from his vehicle to the parking lot.
Speaking to him stopping at 6:36 in this video, when he's stopping at that point, he points over. What was he pointing to?
I believe that's when he was talking about pushing his sister out.
Wasn't he talking about the fact that there were other tire tracks in there when you would ask him about the tire tracks?
Possibly.
Possibly, you don't recall? I'm just moving just a little bit back.
Do you have the volume on mine? Or?
This is the dash cam. You guys didn't need to assist him at all?
No.
Given the conditions or what you perceive to be his impairment? No assistance was given?
No. He wasn't fall down, unable to take care of himself drunk, but he was making poor decisions.
And we could see that he stopped, pointed something out to you,
Correct.
and you guys addressed it, and it's in the area where those other tire vehicle tracks are, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now going to State's Exhibit 2, the body cam footage. When you give him the one leg stand test, you said you demonstrated that.
Correct.
Until you get to 31, nice and stable here. If you have any issues with your knees, with your back,
At this point, he's on crunchy snow, and we can see that there's a accumulation. I think you had testified before that even though it was plowed with the continuous snow, there was still snow on top of the packed snow.
There is a little bit there.
So would you say this was an icy road, icy parking lot?
There's a thin layer of snow above it,
Yes. But there's ice and then there's some snow on top of it?
possibly.
So that's a slippery surface?
I didn't have issues with it, but a little bit of snow, possibly ice.
According to the NHTSA manual, aren't you supposed to find a non-slippery flat surface to do this on?
Ideally, yes.
Well, and if there is no flat surface available, you should find one, correct?
Correct.
Now, looking at this video where we have this paused, you had outlined that it was almost a security issue or for your safety, that you didn't want to take him over to that overhang. Is that what you testified about?
Correct.
Okay. Isn't it more true that since you were there and it was cold out, you just didn't take the inconvenience of walking 20 more steps?
Well, it's a bit more than 20, but possibly. If he was sober, I wanted to get him out on his way sooner, or if he was under the influence, into custody sooner.
At this point, he's given you no reason to believe that he's going to be a problem for you as far as fighting you or something that would need your protection, correct?
People don't usually give big signs that they're going to fight or...
But you're saying that were there 3 officers there?
Correct.
That you didn't feel comfortable taking from that clearing right there under the overhang?
Looking now, it may have been more ideal, but as I said, I wanted to get the test underway as soon as possible, closer to my vehicle.
That would be your preference, and I think most people don't want to walk any more than they have to. But in the interest of doing a test where somebody is going to be potentially limited in their liberty, and you know that you're not supposed to give this test on a slippery surface, don't you think it would be prudent to take him to that overhang now in hindsight?
Possibly.
And you can see that that's not an unreasonable distance away from your vehicle at that point, correct?
Possibly.
And with two other officers there, one of the officers could have moved a vehicle closer to that area, correct? And that would have given you two officers to stay in contact with Mr. Moncrief and one officer to pull a vehicle closer to have it available should he or should you determine that there's a need?
Possibly, yes. Hindsight's 20/20. If in the future we can do it that way.
And
As I said, it was very cold. I wanted to get things underway and with the safest possible area, as close to my vehicle as possible, close to his vehicle as possible, and not walk further than we needed to.
And he stressed several times that he was cold.
Yes.
Correct? And you don't dispute that. It was obvious that everybody was
It was obvious everyone was miserable and cold.
I'm going to play this, State's Exhibit 2. This is you talking about the one-leg stand. Can you tell me when you demonstrated the exam? And I'll stop it for you.
Okay.
Stop there for 1 second, please.
Either one, whichever.
Where's this? Why isn't the sound coming through the system? No, no, it wasn't since he's been playing it.
Oh, you turn my computer off. There's a button right here. That's the off. No biggie.
You're gonna raise one foot up off the ground, point your toe towards me. You're gonna look knees with your back. Okay.
Okay. I'm going to start the video, and you tell me when you demonstrated the test to him.
No.
All right. Either one, whichever one you choose.
Okay.
You're gonna raise one foot up off the ground, point your toe towards me. You're gonna look down at your toe, and you count going
I'm guessing
1,000,
there you can see
2,000,
him looking down.
3,000, 4,000, until you get to 31,000.
can't
or
hear
until you
you
stop.
when that's going.
I'm sorry. I'm guessing, as you can see him looking down, that he's most likely looking at my toe, my foot elevated off the ground, demonstrating it.
Okay,
So you're demonstrating it as you're talking?
Yes.
I don't wanna be out here longer than I have to either. Hands exercise for me. Oh, so hands exercise, one foot up, count out loud.
But it's cold out.
I get it, it's cold.
So, man, that's.
I'm stopping it right here. I'm not going to go back to the video for this, but you had mentioned that cold weather affects the test, correct?
Yes.
Such as if somebody is freezing, their body naturally reacts to that, and it would affect their ability to balance or like maybe tense them up.
Possibly.
But with the involuntary, the freezing temperatures do affect a person's body, correct?
Correct.
And with him complaining about this and him putting his hands in his pockets and you making him take him out, he was demonstrating that the cold was affecting his ability to take these tests, correct?
The NHTSA manual wants the hands at their side, so we have to do it that way.
Okay, but he's telling you that it's affecting him and his ability to take
Correct.
the test, right?
Correct. And had he asked to get gloves or anything like that, I would have been more than welcome to have him do that.
Did you offer him anything to help him?
I did
perform?
not.
You're not required to, correct?
No.
What would make you believe that he would know that he is allowed to request those things?
Just like if I would like water at a restaurant, I can ask for it. I could be denied if they don't
Well,
want to.
people
but-
know you can ask for things at a restaurant because that's what you're going for.
Correct.
But in general, people don't know. You have no knowledge of whether or not he would know he could even ask for something like that.
Correct.
But he didn't.
He didn't.
Okay. Now, going through the HGN test that you had given him, you said he was trying to be evasive to the test.
Correct.
Didn't he state numerous times, I just want some help to get out of here? You know, why can't you just help me? My car's just stuck, something along those lines?
Yes.
Okay. So he seemed like he was upset that you guys weren't helping him help get his car out, correct?
Correct.
Was he focused on that?
That I wasn't helping him get his car out?
Yeah, was that his main focus?
He was very unhappy about that.
Okay. And he keeps stating that numerous times throughout this entire investigation up until you arrest him and go from there?
Correct.
When you were giving the test, you said he was evasive by he would look away.
Correct. That instead of following my finger, his pupils would return back to the center of his face.
When he does that, aren't you supposed to, as far as the NHTSA manual goes, aren't you supposed to start that leg of the test over?
Well, that's one of the cues that they're not following my stimulus.
Well, one of the cues would be if they have a stagmus.
Mm-hmm.
Him looking away and being evasive, as you say, that's not compliance with the test, correct?
Correct.
But it doesn't show impairment, it just shows that he's not going to do the test. Would that be a fair
Correct.
statement?
Correct.
Then the stagmus portion is what you're looking for?
Yes.
Do you see people that are evasive regarding these tests quite
Yes.
often?
Correct.
And you mentioned there's ways that people can learn online, but you have no knowledge of whether or not Mr. Moncrief has
No,
ever watched any of the
I have
videos?
no knowledge of his browser history or what's on his computer.
You were just testifying about your experience, what you know
Correct.
is out there.
That I'm aware that people are able to look these things up to get out of getting in trouble.
Of course, you have no knowledge of what he knows or doesn't know.
Correct.
Okay. But you're just making sure that, in your mind, that's one of the things you think of, that this is a possibility.
Correct.
Now, you had mentioned before that you would assume certain things. The odor of alcohol doesn't tell you impairment, correct?
Correct.
What does it tell us?
That they've been in contact with alcohol, whether it was spilled on them or they were consuming it.
And it doesn't tell you the amount, correct?
Correct.
No level of impairment.
Correct.
But it's a precursor to look further.
Yes.
Now, he never fell down in the snow, correct?
No, his car
And
did.
this is your first ever interaction with Mr. Moncrief, correct?
That's correct.
And you have no idea how he would normally speak, correct?
Correct.
And the way he was speaking with you may just be the way that he talks in general.
Possibly.
Did you consider that at any point, or did you mention, it appears as though he's having trouble talking or anything?
I solely go by my interaction right then and there, that it seemed slurred. If he slurs his words and is speaking that way every day, that it's something for him.
Now, when he performed the one-leg stand, went forward, when you ask him, or when you demonstrate the test, he just starts doing the test, correct?
Correct.
You never told him to wait until you tell him to start.
Correct.
And you never told him to start.
Correct.
So that can't be held against him because he was never informed otherwise, right?
If I never told him to start, then he wasn't following the directions.
Well, if you don't tell him to wait until you tell him to start, what direction did you give him not to start? So him starting and doing it as he thought he was with his hands in his pockets and doing it, that was not that was in compliance with taking the test, correct?
Well, I instructed him not to have his hands in his pockets, and
You said you put your hands down your side, correct?
correct.
With his hands down his side in his pockets, how come that is not down at his side? As you can see from the video, he's got his hands down at his side.
That's another way to deceive the test, putting your hands in your pockets to give yourself better balance.
How does that give you better balance?
You're able to pull down on your jacket, and
That gives you better balance?
it does. Compared to your arms being stiff at your sides.
Well, why does it have to be stiff at your sides? Isn't it true that your people they can even have their arms 6 inches from their body, correct?
I'm not sure how many inches, but yes, they have to be at their sides, out of their pockets, though. Not grabbing onto any pants or shirts or anything.
And what portion of the NHTSA manual does it say they have to have their hands out of their pockets?
I'm not sure which page. Yeah,
Please.
I'm not as smart as you. You probably
Don't
know
say
the
that.
exact page and
Please don't say
paragraphs
that.
and-
But have you read in the NHTSA manual that they have to have their hands out of their pockets?
Yes,
And you believe that is one of the standardized portions of the test?
I believe so.
What if their pockets were down lower?
Like cargo pockets and.
Well, he's in his jacket pockets with his hands
Correct.
outside. Does it say their arms have to be straight, or can they be slightly bent?
When I was instructed, they were not to have their hands in their pockets with their hands at their sides.
Could you have been instructed incorrectly?
And that's up to the Cleveland Heights Police Academy.
Is that,
I don't believe so.
you-
As I've seen in the NHTSA manual and prior OVIs from other officers, it's kind of across the board that the hands go at the sides.
so just because that's in practice, you're not saying that's in compliance with NHTSA, that's in compliance with your training.
Yes.
And you believe it to be in compliance with NHTSA?
Yes.
So no bent arms, even slightly, and no hands in pockets.
If you mention that they can, if they're unable to keep their arms straight, then okay. But they're to be at their sides, not in pockets or in clothing, grabbing onto anything.
And with the one leg, or the one leg, walk and turn test, when you started to do that, you're standing in that position?
Yes.
So you had your one foot in front of the other?
Yes.
And he makes several comments to you, but he never gets in that position, so what becomes apparent to you at that point?
That he was refusing to perform the test.
It appears from the video that that's the way you took the situation.
Yes, that
But
we
you're
had
right.
negotiated with him for several minutes, trying to get him into position just to receive instructions, and he would never get into position or allow us to speak long enough to get the instructions out there.
He wasn't rude or anything, he was just basically stating over, why are we doing this? I'm cold, can't you just help me?
Rude in that he wouldn't let us finish talking and giving instructions.
But with what we heard on the video before, that's what you're saying, he was rude?
I didn't mind it. Other people may take it as being rude.
He was being
but-
annoying. Would you say he was
Yes.
being annoying?
Yes.
Okay. And at that point, you didn't say, look, if you don't do this test, then we're going to put it down as a refusal. You never give him an ultimatum, you just go up to him and say, okay,
No.
turn around. Correct?
Correct.
And at that point, you felt that you had sufficient information and probable cause to take him into custody for operating a vehicle under the influence?
Correct.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Redirect examination. Well, let Mr. Deeb clean up there.
Well, I was just going
Oh.
to answer, what did she want to do, just leave it here, or?
Yeah, or you can take it now.
Whatever you want to do, Mr. Deeb. You can leave it there if you want to see if you're going to ask follow-up questions. Unless
You
you,
use it? Okay. I'll leave it for you.
Stella?
Thank you. Going back to when we were looking at Defendant's Exhibit A, your dash camera, the way that you entered that parking lot was clearly plowed,
Yes.
and those tire tracks that were not caused by the defendant on outside the parking lot onto the grassy area, was that a road? Do you know?
No.
That's also into the
It's
grass?
the remains of an old building that were there where there's some pavement that I believe the auto shop will sometimes drive on, or the people from North Shore Mall, the maintenance people will sometimes drive on.
And you were able to tell what was plowed versus what was not
Yes.
plowed?
The ones that were to the right of it had been there for a while, whereas his were
The
clearly...
ones, you mean tire tracks?
The tire tracks to the right of it had obviously been there for a little bit longer, whereas the tire tracks that led to his vehicle were fresh.
There were no tire trucks going that way where his car went,
Yes.
right?
There was just
Just his.
two sets going, yes.
And the other tire trucks went,
Yeah, they were farther down to the right.
and went towards,
The
what would that be, Vine Street, I guess, maybe?
yeah.
In that route that the defendant traveled through the grass, did anyone else travel in that way?
No,
There weren't any other tire tracks, just
there were
his?
not.
And for the one leg stand, you took him to a flat surface, correct?
Correct.
Was there anywhere in that parking lot that was not covered in snow?
No. It had been plowed. You could see in the video there were plows actively going back and forth. I was looking towards the next test that there was a nice, you could see the tire line there that we could do the walk and turn test on, and I thought it was plowed enough that we could perform all the tests safely.
And was it slippery under your feet?
I wasn't having issues.
And is the inability to follow instructions a sign of impairment?
It is?
One moment. Nothing further.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. You talked about other people going through that area, to the other side of the building.
Correct.
That I had mentioned, those tire
Yes,
tracks.
that you had mentioned that there was some signs of vehicles traveling on the farther right of his tracks.
And you had mentioned that the people that you would use that are people that are very familiar with that area,
Correct.
and most people don't use that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you identified Mr. Moncrief, correct?
Correct.
And he made you aware that he was not from this area.
Yes.
In fact, is he from the far west side?
I believe so.
So this would not be an area that he would be familiar with.
Correct.
And given the fact that there's no barrier that we see from your dash cam as we get to those tracks, and it starts to build up more towards where he goes,
Correct.
someone not unfamiliar with the area would not know to go to either one of those sides, correct?
Someone unfamiliar with the area would probably go from the well-lit parking lot to the well-lit street, not assume that this wide-open, unplowed, untouched area is...
Well, that area was well lit. It had a parking lot light and the speedway light, correct?
It was also untouched snow, where me being sober would assume
Let's talk about that
it's not a
untouched
roadway.
snow. You had difficulty pointing out the dip, correct?
Correct.
So it made it look like it was just a flat area going into that speedway parking lot, correct?
A flat, untouched area of snow, yes.
Okay. Well, isn't every area of snow untouched until somebody touches it?
Well, you can see there's plows actively touching the parking lot we're in there, and the city of Wilwick plows had done a good job clearing Lakeshore Boulevard, which was right next to it.
But based on what you're saying, is that if it's untouched, you shouldn't use it whatsoever, so nobody should drive in snow until it's plowed?
If you have the options of using a plowed parking lot and a plowed street, or taking a gamble on an untouched area that may or may not be a driveway or
Taking a gamble,
grass. and-
there was nothing about this area right now that gave any indication that was snow, correct? I mean, there's no
The-
indication of
the
from
2 feet
this
of snow
area
gave
that
out.
there is grass underneath that snow.
What would you assume is there?
Pavement?
There's mounds of snow on the edge of a parking lot, another parking lot that you can see is lit up.
Well, you're familiar with the area, and you're assuming that, but someone not familiar with the area could see that that would just be pavement covered by snow, that they just had chosen not to plow, correct?
If I'm sober and not from the area, I'm going to stay on the parking lot in the
Well, then answer my
street.
question. Someone could see that as being just unplowed parking lot, correct?
They could see it as unplowed, yes.
Okay. Now,
It'd
speaking
be
of
safe to
that-
assume that there's no roadway there.
Well, you're a police officer, you're extremely familiar with Willowick.
Correct.
From the west side.
Okay, you guys you're arguing.
Okay. Going to this, we'll draw that last thing, but going to the area that's paved, from that corner at Speedway, there is a small strip of grass that we can see around the Speedway, or area of grass.
Objection, Your Honor, outside the scope.
Overruled, go ahead.
From the moment that parking lot starts until it reaches the road, several hundred feet down, the entire area is a paved parking lot, correct?
Yes, the paved North Shore parking lot. And then there's the grassy barrier between that and the Speedway parking lot and Vine Street and Lake Shore.
That grassy area right around Speedway is the only grass in that area for that whole entire corner.
Yes.
Nothing further on.
All right, sir, you may return to the seat. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want this?
Just put on, right there, good. Thank you. All right, statement call its next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state would rest pending the admission of its outstanding exhibits, which I believe are state's exhibits 3 and 4.
Any objection to those exhibits? I think
No,
it's
Your Honor.
pretty- all right, those will be admitted. Do you have an exhibit for the court?
I'm not going to ask it to be admitted, I just wanted to show it to the court so the court would see it.
Well, it still needs to be part of the record. I mean, if this goes up, the Court of Appeals is
You know
gonna,
what, I'll ask it to be admitted as a defense exhibit A.
all right, it doesn't have to be admitted if you don't want it to be admitted. It needs to be part of the record, so.
Would I be able to put on a different flash drive?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, and I'll ask it to be admitted.
But we're not, all right, well, we'll get to that when it's your case here, but I just,
We can-
it needs to be with Mary. She needs to have that.
That's not.
We could put it on our flash drive, there'll be room. We'll just indicate that it's defense exhibit.
Okay, that's fair.
Oh, okay.
That's all right, right, Mary? Good. All right, your state's exhibits will be admitted that haven't been admitted already.
We have nothing to present, Your Honor.
And then, so you want the admission of Defense Exhibit A,
And the admission
and
of
I will,
defense exhibit A-
no objection, I assume?
No objection.
All right, that'll be admitted. All right, let me hear some closing comments, if you care, on behalf of the state.
Thank you, Your Honor. Here, the stop as alleged by the defendant isn't a stop. It's a community caretaking exercise. There was a 911 call dispatching for help to get a car out of that area. The defendant himself said it. The police should be helping him. They're public servants. That was the purpose of them responding to this parking lot that night to figure out what happened. They weren't approaching for a misdemeanor traffic violation like Mr. Deeb cited in his brief. They were approaching to figure out what was going on, why this person was stuck, and if they could help. There was plowed snow along that line of the parking lot, and the defendant decided to drive through it. It wasn't reasonable for him to do what he did. There was a pretty clear end to that parking lot where the snow was. The only evidence of someone who had tried to drive through where the defendant drove was the evidence from the defendant's car himself. The mound of snow was lower because the defendant's car drove over it. There is a car width lower area where Mr. Deeb pointed it out. That mound was substantially higher to the left, and then the width of where he pointed that as being lower is the width of the defendant's car. When we look directly in front of it, the tire tracks are just as wide as the width of that mound. So the defendant's car is what pushed that mound down and made it look lower in that area. And then the snow was lower in front where he drove through. But he forged his own path there. There was no evidence of any other tire tracks going in the direction of the speedway. Only those tire tracks going in a completely different area, coming from a different part of the parking lot where there weren't those plow mounds created. When the officers got to the car, he immediately showed signs of impairment. That gives the officers probable cause for the field sobriety testing. They observed him operating the vehicle because when the officers approached, that vehicle was running and the defendant was sitting behind the wheel. He was operating that motor vehicle at the time that the police approached. And he exited the car and instantly observed him to be slurring his speech, having an odor of alcohol, admitting to drinking, handing the officer his credit card instead of his ID. The testing here substantially complied with the NHTSA guidelines. Just because the defendant himself attempted to interfere with the testing at every turn doesn't mean that the officer didn't comply to the best of his abilities given the circumstances that we had. During the HGN, we are able to see the defendant's eyes on that body camera. We're able to see that he's not smoothly pursuing the stimulus. We're able to see exactly what Officer Sobkowicz explained, which is that the defendant would quickly look to the left and quickly look back to center, that his eyes weren't following the stimulus and that they were jumping in what in his training and experience is an attempt to avoid the test. Just because the defendant doesn't follow the instructions doesn't mean that the officer didn't substantially comply. The officer couldn't do the test clearly because of the defendant's own behavior. He used his finger as a stimulus. He pointed the light down in a way that it wouldn't affect the defendant's eyes. And we can see exactly where that light was shining in the video. It was in the center of the defendant's chest. There was nothing pointing directly in his eye. And the stimulus was a black glove in contrast with the white snow. For the one-leg stand and the walk and turn, the officer asked the defendant to go to the plowed parking lot. The defendant argued with walking all the way to the parking lot. He said he didn't want to walk that far. And the officer said, "Do you want to do it here in the deep snow?" That would have been a problem for him to do those tests. So the officer actually took the defendant to the edge of the parking lot. They stopped and they did the testing there. It's clear that that parking lot had been plowed. We did see some tire tracks there, and the officer did utilize that tire track. At no point did the defendant say, "This is slippery." At no point did the defendant say, "This is icy." At no point did the defendant say, "I think I'm going to fall over." We don't see any evidence of the defendant slipping or sliding in that parking lot. What we hear him saying is, "I'm cold, this is cold, why are we doing this? You're supposed to be helping me." There's no evidence that that was, in fact, a slippery surface. We do have snow, but we don't have blizzard conditions. There's feet of snow on the ground, but this is not an active, heavy snow situation. From the body camera, we're able to see a couple of snowflakes. We're able to see them blowing in a wind, but it's no extreme wind that stopped people from standing, and it's no snow that would cause someone to slip and fall over or to be blinded in the conditions. The officer gave a fair statement of the instructions for the one-leg stand, but the defendant started the test before the officer could even finish the instructions. Mr. Deeb questioned about, "Well, you didn't tell him that he had to wait until you said he could start." The officer wasn't able to get that far in the instructions. He finished describing the test, and the defendant instantly has his leg up off the ground. So there was no time for him to say, "Wait until I tell you to go. Okay, go." The defendant never got into the set position in order to start that test. And then the defendant stopped that test saying, "I'm cold, man. I don't want to do this." The officer asked him to keep going until he said stop, and the defendant himself chose to refuse. So the officer gave consistent instructions from NHTSA, followed his own training and experience in asking him to take his hands out of his pockets, and did everything that he could given the conditions. We can't change the fact that it was frigid cold that evening. It was a Friday night in February. As far as the walk and turn is concerned, the officer used a clear line from that tire track and never even gets through the instructions before the defendant starts the test. The defendant repeatedly starts the test without listening and argues with the officer about whether or not he should have to do that. The officer complied the best that he could given the defendant's own behavior and interruptions. Limited by the weather and limited by the defendant's conduct, he complied with the NHTSA guidelines as well as one possibly could with these variables that were both out of his control. The defendant argues that he requested assistance during the testing but was forced to continue with them anyway. However, the defendant didn't request any assisting with the actual testing. He said he understood the testing. All he was doing was telling the police that they are public servants and they should be helping to tow his car instead of questioning him for driving under the influence. He didn't want to do the field sobriety tests because he didn't want to be under arrest for OVI, so he was distracting and delaying and hampering the tests however he could. Mr. Deeb brought up a statement that the defendant made of, "Why are we doing this? It's cold. Can't you just help me?" The reason that the officers were doing this is because the defendant drove into a grassy area where no one else had driven, got his car stuck, smelled like alcohol, admitted to drinking, had slurred speech, and gave the officers a credit card instead of his ID. The officers weren't required to say, "Okay, tow the defendant's car and let him drive away from there impaired," just because that's what he asked for. The officers had probable cause for that field sobriety testing, probable cause for his arrest, and substantially complied with the NHTSA manual given the weather conditions and the defendant's own behavior. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Deeb?
Now, that argument seems to shift the burden in this case to the defendant. The defendant should have done this. The defendant should have done that. It's on the officer to make sure that the defendant or the suspect understands these things and that he is the one who controls the situation because he has a superior knowledge of the way these things need to be done. It's clear that there was an untouched area of snow. There's a diminished barrier. You can see the barrier of the snow on the edge of the parking lot where it had been plowed. But this was recently plowed. It was a plow driver that called us in that was in that parking lot that saw this gentleman. So it is obviously a snowy night. The officer testified that it was snowy. In the video, it's not currently snowing at this time, but they were just out there plowing. It was a plow driver. When we look at the dash cam video, you can see it's clear that there are other tracks going towards that speedway, though on the other side, but there's no signs, there's no indication that that is not an area to traverse. Mr. Moncrief, being from the west side of Cleveland, he tells the officer, I'm from out of town, I'm not from around here. He would have no knowledge of what's underneath that snow, as it appears to be flat like the other areas. It may not have been plowed, but just because something's plowed doesn't mean that you can't drive on it. If I don't plow my driveway, can I still go on it? Yes, I know what's there, but a stranger may go off of my driveway because they don't know. But it would be ideal if it is plowed, like in any situation. With that entire area of that parking lot, it goes all the way down the street for several hundred feet, and there's the Speedway parking lot on the corner. It would be easy for someone to assume that that entire portion is a concrete jungle from the corner all the way to the end. It is not. It's that small.
From the corner all the way to the end.
From the corner of
So
Speedway.
there's no grass. You're saying it's reasonable to believe there's no grass?
It would be reasonable to believe there's no grass in that area.
Then why are there mounds?
Well, at that point, we know that that's a demarcation of the parking lot, but that could be the edge of their parking lot versus the edge of the Speedway parking lot. There's not with this
So
snow
there's
area,
a mound separating the two parking lots?
Businesses do that on a regular basis if they have adjoining parking lots, or if they have a separation, even though it's one continuous parking lot, they demark their portion for their customers for somebody else. There's no signs that say that there is no traveling through there. There's grass, and there's nothing from the way that this area was at this time covered in snow that was not somewhere you can travel. There's no tracks in snow until somebody puts them there, and we can see that someone could draw the conclusion that going around Speedway would be something that would be reasonable because there's already tire tracks going along the other side. There was nothing to say that there wouldn't be a parking lot or a roadway to the other side. When he's doing the test drive and coming into contact with the officer, he engages the officers. They had their lights stopped because they knew, because they know the area, that he was off the parking lot, and that would be a traffic violation. They were investigating him for a traffic violation. Whether or not they would have cited him if it was just an innocent mistake, the officer says that we were just going to wench him out of here, but because he just got stuck and it's not a big deal. Taking it further, when he gives him his credit card to identify himself, He gives him the credit cards and his license, you can see from the dash cam video. It's not that he goes, oh, here's my license, here's my license, it's a credit card, here's my license, it's a credit card. No, he gives them all in a continuous motion as he takes them out at the same time. That's not confusion, that's just trying to comply with an officer. People get nervous when they deal with officers, so it's not unreasonable, especially given the fact that he's freezing, that his dexterity in his hands, he would just take things out of his wallet at one time when they're together. And you can see that from the video. It's not that there's an issue giving it to them. He just grabs everything out at the same time. He engages with the officers, tells them he just pulled his sister out. The officer doesn't have any experience with him. That's the way that he speaks, and that's the way that he talks on a regular basis. The officer believes that to be slurred speech, but we don't have any other indication that that would be different. He's able to understand them. He's able to react to situations appropriately and ask questions. In fact, we see when he's walking up on that dash cam video, we can see he points over and talks about the area where people had been driving through before, so that it's more reasonable to go that route. As far as the NHTSA manual says, one of the core basics is a non-slippery surface. To say that the parking lot was a non-slippery surface, it's covered in ice and you have snow, which the snow makes it better, but it's still slippery. We see the officer have a misstep in the snow. We see my client, he's able to traverse that without any difficulties, which someone who is impaired would normally have more of an issue going through that. In fact,
And what evidence is there that there was ice underneath the snow?
I'd asked the officer if there was ice under the snow, and he said yes, there was ice, and then there was snow on top of it. So it said it was plowed in an icy parking lot. If I'm incorrect, Ryan, I believe that's what I asked him, and I believe that was his testimony that he affirmed that. But we can definitely see that there is snow on the parking lot where they're doing that. And just because he doesn't slip, we don't know what small little changes there are just because he doesn't fall on the snow. There was a much better, reasonable location, very close. And whether my client says he wants to do something or not, the officer is the one who's supposed to direct it. Whether my client wants to do the test, if he's given the alternative, saying, would you rather do them here or would you do them here? The officer is in control of that. He decides where the location is going to be because he knows the way it's supposed to be performed, and the officer does know it's supposed to be on a non-slippery surface, which is available to them right there, which would take that out. It's very established law and case law that a snowy, slippery surface would be something that would be a violation of the standardized testing procedures. The officer would know that. It doesn't have to be that he actually has a slip, but they have to get
So you
conditions
can't
that are better.
perform field sobriety tests in Northeast Ohio in the winter?
You can do field sobriety tests, but you would have to find a dry, non-slippery surface.
What if
In
there's
this
nothing
case,
around? I mean, this one's in a parking lot, and you have so what if you're at the side of the road like most of these happen?
They can take him back to the station. They can find a location that would be appropriate. The seizure at that point would be, I think, appropriate, but they would need to find a test because we're going to take someone's liver. They got to be able to take the test under conditions that a reasonable person who's not able to pass those tests. The test should not be impacted by an additional element of saying, okay, now we have to deal with this snow or this crunchiness. And it's clear, they say that he's in a tire track, and I can look up at the exhibit right now because it's up here. You can see that there's an accumulation of snow, so it's not a flat surface, it's encumbered with snow, where he's standing right there where there's numerous tire tracks. So we'd argue that the conditions are inappropriate.
The what?
We'd argue that the conditions,
Conditions.
it was the walk and turn, the one-leg stand are inappropriate. And as far as saying that he started the test with the one-leg stand prior to, if there's no instruction, you can't violate the instructions, and it's incumbent upon the officer to restart the test and say, look, don't start until I tell you to start. He would re-instruct him. It's clear if he does that in violation without being instructed, the officer has failed to instruct properly because that's his duty, is to say, look, don't start until I tell you to start. So just get back in that position, okay, feet on your side. You know, he makes him take his hands out, but the NHTSA manual does not say that they have to be stiff at your sides and stuck to your sides. The officer acknowledged in the manual that they can have their arms out of the side. He didn't know how many inches, but you do not have to be stiff. In fact, my argument would be that if you took the test the way the officer believes that you have to be straight down at your sides, that causes problems with people's balance because it's an unnatural position. If they're just standing here and they do the one-leg stand where they put their foot up, that would be appropriate, but my arms are bent slightly. Putting them down in your pockets, if they were in your pockets and your pockets are low, Is that inappropriate for the officer? That would be in violation of the NHTSA guidelines, but as I'm standing here, my arms are straight down my side in my pockets. He didn't give him the opportunity to do that, which is what he was trying to do. So we'd say the manner in which the one leg stand was given was inappropriate. The instructions were lacking, and he did not ask my client if he understood the test. He just told him, hold on up. He said, whoa, whoa, and then he just starts, and he lets him go until he gets to a certain point. And then it's clear from the test that it's not that he loses balance or anything. He just stops the test with the officer saying, okay, what's going on? And then they try to use a snowy tire track to use for the one leg with the walk and turn test. My client is obviously not going to be doing those tests because of the conditions and the cold, so he decides to terminate at that point. Your Honor, we'd argue that there's no probable cause to arrest for an OVI at this time, and based on that, there would be no reason to impound and search the vehicle, which would accompany an OVI arrest. And with that, there would be the fruit of the poisonous tree that anything found inside the vehicle would be suppressed.
Thank you. Ms. Tuttle?
Thank you, Your Honor. The burden hasn't been shifted here. The law requires substantial compliance with the NHTSA guidelines, and the totality of the circumstances has to be considered here. The defendant's own conduct in hampering the officer from finishing his instructions has to be considered in light of the officer's ability to comply with the NHTSA guidelines. A defendant doesn't get to interrupt instructions and then say they were never given, so the test results should be inadmissible. That would defeat the purpose of the entire process. Here, it's pretty clear that the officer kept trying to give the defendant instructions, but he chose to perform those tests at the rate.
Let's forget that for a minute. What about the conditions?
Regarding the conditions, one of the reasons that we have the requirement of substantial compliance with the NHTSA guidelines rather than strict compliance with the NHTSA guidelines is sometimes there's nothing you can do about the situation that you're in. Here, it is February, it is the middle of the night, there is a snowstorm. There isn't many places that they could go in order to do these testing otherwise. I understand that there is an overhang over there, but the defendant himself complained about walking from the position that he was in to the parking lot in order to
So when
perform
did police officers listen to what, go ahead.
And the officer has admitted that maybe doing them under the overhang would have
So
been the more
if the officer
prudent thing
wanted
to
to
do.
take him there, and the defendant said, I don't want to walk that far, they'd say, all right, we won't walk that far. He'd go along with that? That's what the officer really wanted to do?
So the officer did this on a level surface. We have snow there. There was no testimony that that parking lot was slippery. The officer testified that there may have been ice underneath the snow, but there was no testimony that that was slippery. No one slipped. No one
And he didn't say
fell
there
in the
was
area.
ice. He said there may have been.
Yes,
I know that's
he
what
said
it
there may
was.
have been ice underneath. But there's no evidence that that was a slippery surface, and it substantially complies with the NHTSA guidelines as far as putting him in an area that was flat, an area that was level. We see him standing here on pretty level, untouched snow next to a tire track. That tire track was to be the guideline for the walk and turn for him to use to go in a straight fashion because that was a straight line. So given the weather conditions that we have, we can't control that. It substantially complied with the requirements as outlined by the NHTSA guidelines. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to take this under advisement here. I'll be out shortly. Back in the record, I have considered and reviewed the motion to suppress the state's brief in opposition or in response to that motion. I've considered the evidence presented, the testimony presented at the hearing, and I've considered the arguments of counsel. And considering all the foregoing, the court makes the following findings. First off, the court finds that this wasn't even a stop. And the defendant, while Mr. D made some comment about that in opening, never even really argued that. This defendant was stuck in the police officer's role after receiving a phone call from a plow driver in the parking lot to the police, responded to this dispatch that the person was stuck. And it was just a part of the caretaking responsibility that a police officer has. Even the defendant said several times that, isn't your job just to come help me? That's what the police officers do. And this was not a traffic stop. Police officers responded, approached the vehicle that was stuck in the grass, and upon first having contact with the defendant when they made their observations. So there's no violation in regards to the initial seizure of the car and the seizure of the defendant. Next, defense argues that there's no grounds to believe that the defendant was impaired, which would allow the field sobriety test and ultimately the arrest of the defendant. The court disagrees with that. Quite frankly, the first contact with the defendant, when he gets out of the car and begins talking, it's apparent. He very much appears to be impaired at that point in the video. It seems very apparent. You first off have a defendant who went off the road or the parking lot, and you can argue all you want about the tire tracks going to the right and people driving behind there. He went through a mound to get to where he was. Everything to the left of those tire tracks, it's a mound there, and he flattened the mound when he went through there. And then he went to the left, where all those other tire tracks that you're talking about went straight ahead. The fact that he drove in that manner and got stuck is evidence that can be considered. Driving off the road, driving off the parking lot can be evidence that the court can consider, or the police officer can consider. He gets out of the vehicle and begins talking, and his speech is severely slurred. You can hear it in the video. He's got an odor of alcohol, strong odor of alcohol that was detected by the police officer, and he admitted to drinking. It's 1:24 in the morning. You need to look at the totality of the circumstances when making this decision, not just each individual finding, and then make some argument how you can eliminate that individual finding because there could be other reasons or options. If that's the case, you can do that with every single case you have. You need to look at all of them together. And again, it doesn't have to be established that he was. You look at the totality of the circumstances, and there are probable cause to believe in. Based on what I just mentioned, driving off the road, odor of alcohol, slurred speech, admission to drinking alcohol, that certainly was enough to allow the officer to attempt to conduct field sobriety tests. Now, in regards to the tests, the court finds no error at all with the HGN test. I don't even think that was really even argued. Well, it may have been mentioned in the brief, but there was really no evidence that came out of argument that came out that there was anything improper about that. Court, however, does have an issue with the other two tests in regards to the circumstances. It's supposed to be on a dry, non-slippery surface, and it wasn't. Now, that doesn't mean the officer didn't have probable cause to arrest the defendant for operating for OVI. You don't even have to submit field sobriety tests or perform field sobriety tests to be arrested for OVI if there's other evidence, sufficient evidence indicating impairment, and there is in this case. More than enough, the court believes. So the fact that if the field sobriety test, at least the second and third, one leg stand, the walk and turn, may not have been done properly, not that they were done properly, but the conditions is what the court has concern with, affect the reliability of those results. I'm going to grant the defendant's motion in limine regarding those last two tests. HGN test will come in, but I'm denying the motion to suppress. There was probable cause to believe the defendant was impaired at the time he was operating the vehicle. Absent consideration of the walk and turn test and the one leg stand. The factors I mentioned, along with the 6 signs from the HGN test, provide more than sufficient evidence, probable cause to believe the defendant was operating the vehicle under the influence, therefore permitted the officer to impound the vehicle, and any subsequent search, which isn't being challenged here, was permissible, and the discovery of the firearm is therefore admissible as well. So the motion to suppress evidence is denied. Motion in limine regarding one-legged stand and the walk and turn is granted. Is there anything else for the record at this time, Ms. Bell or Ms. Tuttle?
Thank you, Your Honor. The state would just notice that this is set for a jury trial on Tuesday. Just wondering if that...
Yeah, we have another trial going forward, so I'm going to do that one, so this won't go forward Tuesday.
I thought we had talked when we set the suppression that we were going to move that, when we set this date when we were in chambers.
Well, we set the date initially for the 11th. I'm moving it. I don't know if what we talked about, but it moved what, the trial? You talking about?
Yeah, I thought we talked about...
It's not going to go.
Okay.
Because I got something else that's going, and I've been told for sure that's going, so if it wasn't, we'd have a discussion, I guess, but I'm not worried about that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'd like to get a new date, though. Why don't you go talk to Amy when you leave here and see what...
I am in O'Donnell's court on a sentencing at 11:30 today.
No, you're not. You're here. It's 11:34.
I'm aware of that. I made them aware of it also. That's why I said it that way.
Now you can. We're going to pop over later.
Yeah, that's what I will
That's
discuss
fine.
with Amy.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Nothing else for the record on this?
Nothing
No,
further.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right.